All right, thanks for sticking around for the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Rich Walsh, back from vacation, in for Bob Pompiani, who is on vacation right now. We have a lot to discuss tonight. Talking about Evgeny Malkin, should the Penguins sign him? What about that Chris Letang deal? And I want to get into this new realignment here with college football, and we got an all-star panel to do it with tonight. We got Chris Mack from The Fan, the early show. Then we have Josh Yohe, our Penguins expert, in tonight, and Andrew Fillipponi from the PM team. So, guys, let's get into the Penguins, and I want to start with Evgeny Malkin, and I'll start with you, Josh, since you probably know more than all of us right now. Do they get a deal done with Evgeny Malkin? Should they get a deal done with him? I mean, it looks like the two sides are a little bit far apart right now.
Yeah, Richie, it's all about term right now. It's not a money per year issue. It's very simple. Evgeny Malkin wants a 4-year contract, and Ron Hextall has offered 3, and I've been told by people in the organization he's not going to budge. He does not want to give Malkin more than 3 years. He thinks it's a fair deal. That lines him up with Sidney Crosby. They would both be free agents 3 years from now. That's where the Penguins are comfortable. I do think it gets done. There's a lot of pressure on Hextall to get this done, not just from the fans. Sidney Crosby, Chris Letang, Mike Sullivan, they all want this done. Those are the most powerful people in the organization. I think it will get done, but it's a very interesting situation. I think Malkin's feelings are probably a little bit hurt at this point. It happens in negotiations, though. That's the way it is. And the big deal, guys, here, there's no one out there who's better. Who are the Penguins going to get that's better than Evgeny Malkin for around $6 million a year to be the #2 center? I love Vince, but no, he's not a better player than Malkin. Maybe 4 years from now he will be, but the idea is to win right now. They've got a 2 or 3 year window in their opinion. I still think Malkin gives them the best chance as their #2 center. I think it gets done, but it's getting a little contentious.
Chris, I mean, what do you think? I mean, he might be the best option as a second-line center.
He
out
is.
there.
They're a more capable playoff team. I know, first-round exits, but they are better built with a healthy Evgeny Malkin. Again, health is also a question. I just think it's crazy how in the course of a year we went from Mario Lemieux, and Josh did some great reporting on this, Mario Lemieux basically telling Gino, hey, you're going to be taken care of, Gino, no worries. Well, Fenway takes over, and Hextall's the guy on the scene, and Hextall's job is to put together the best possible team at the lowest possible cost. If that hurts Evgeny Malkin's feelings, oh well. And that seems to be at the crux of the matter here is Evgeny Malkin's feelings are hurt. And that's the toughest part is none of us wants to be told that we're not as good once as we were at our peak. And that's the problem with Evgeny Malkin right now. He doesn't want to be told that after a couple of major knee injuries, after turning 36, that he's not as good 5-on-5, that he's basically at this point in his career looking like a power play specialist, and that's not worth a 4-year investment for the Pittsburgh Penguins right now.
I can actually empathize with him. For a long time, he's been one of the 10 or 20 best players in the NHL, and now he's got an organization that flat out has said publicly, we're not going to negotiate with you until we get Letang done, or we get a decision on Letang. I mean, they put him on the back burner for months. So if you've given all this to an organization and they say, we can't even give you a straight answer on how we're going to negotiate with you or ballpark your number because you're not our top priority. Look, I mean, the guy's about as emotional as it gets. We see it work well on the ice at times and poorly at times. I just can't imagine that sat well with him. Hey, you're like 3rd on our list of important people. No. He's arguably the 2nd or 3rd best Russian player in the history. You know him better than I do, Josh, but just the way they went about their business here, I can understand why he would have hurt feelings.
Oh, no, I absolutely can as well. He's on the Mount Rushmore in Penguins history. We know this. Okay, it's Mario and Crosby and Yager and Malkin. He's one of those guys.
And they told him he was their 3rd most important player this offseason.
They did. There's no question in my mind they have concerns about how he's going to age. Chris Letang is a workout freak, guys. He might well still be good at 40. He's one of those rare athletes. Malkin's not, and I think we can see age creeping into his game maybe when you watch him play more than a Crosby or Letang. He doesn't have that extra burst that he once did, whether it's health-related or not. So I can also empathize with Hextall. I can see why he doesn't want to give him a 4 or 5 year deal. I get it, but this is still a franchise icon we are talking about. And like I said, Sidney Crosby, I talked with Crosby the other night about Letang. And he told me some stuff about Letang, and he said, by the way, I hope Gino's next. He's went out of his way to say it. When Crosby wants it done, that tells me it probably does get done, but it's absolutely a touchy
I think that puts the leverage back in Malkin's court. Honestly, that's how Sid feels.
Right?
If that's how Sid feels.
You see the Steelers move on from guys. I mean, it's a business. What has this core done? I like to have him run. I think
what has this core done? They've won 3 Stanley Cups and gone to 4, Richie.
Lately. Lately. What have they done lately? Do you think they have another Stanley Cup
But
run?
what does that mean, though? What have they done lately?
So do you think they should?
Do you think they should have let Letang walk then? I mean, if you're saying
no, I don't. I like the deal for Letang, and we can get into that. But I think at some point you have to cut the cord on some of these guys and maybe get younger guys at different nucleus.
But you just said to Josh, who else is better? So you're change for the sake of change guy. I'm not.
No, I'm not. I want to see him win. I want to see him get back to the Stanley Cup Finals. Does this team? You're basically coming in here with the same exact makeup of a team that has been out in the first round of the playoffs for the last
You're
couple
coming
years.
back with the same stars. I think that's an important delineation here because we're talking about guys like Kapanen, Heinen, Rodriguez. There are periphery guys, and I understand.
You have no money.
They're not the reasons.
How are you going to afford other guys?
They're not the reasons you win playoff series, but those are the guys that can be turned over, or you decide to keep them in Heinen's case maybe, or you let Rodriguez. This franchise is built, to Josh's point, on the Mount Rushmore. You've got 4 guys, 66, 68, 87, and 71. And I would be willing, if I were Ron Hextall, based upon, I would hope, the encouragement of ownership, hey, give that guy the extra year. You know what? We might get a Roethlisberger-type year at the end where everybody goes, oh, my God, can you believe this guy's still out there?
But needs to compromise and come down in
they
average
come down
annual
on
value.
They come down on value. You're absolutely
Same
right.
thing Letang did.
And Richie, you mentioned the money involved, the salary cap. I still think, yes, this is the biggest decision to be made in the offseason. Ron Hextall has to shed some salary, whether it's Marcus Pettersson, Jason Zucker, whoever. If he can shed some salary, that lets you bring Malkin back. It lets you sign Rickard Raquel and still go out and maybe make your bottom 6 a little bit better in free agency. They've got to find a way to get rid of someone. Marcus Pettersson is the most likely guy to go. That's, I believe, who they want to trade. It's a very important thing. He makes weight. Jim Rutherford did a lot of great things in Pittsburgh. He also gave a few guys way too much money late
And
in his
I don't give
tenure.
Hextall that much credit. I think Rust and Letang wanted to stay here because of Sid more than anything else. I think you could have been the general manager and those guys would have signed back here because they want to play with him.
Of course.
And they like the organization. I think Hextall, the Carter deal and what he gave him again last offseason, he needs to be hammered for those deals.
And letting Jared McCann go away, which was not a good decision. That's fair.
So what do they do now? What you mentioned about what you do in the offseason. I expected them to make maybe a trade during the draft, one of those 2 days. What do you do now? I guess you have to wait till Malkin, right, Pony? You have to wait till you figure out what's going to happen with Malkin.
Well, he's the big, I mean, you've got to have your plan Bs, which would involve probably Strome from New York, and I think Kadri and Trocheck and JT Miller are absolute pipe dreams, unless you want to tell me differently.
I will not tell you
Right,
differently.
okay. So you got to do plan B. Honestly, the hard conversation I would have with Sullivan and my scouts are you telling me that all these young, and we don't have a lot of them, but are you telling me these young guys are not good enough to play in our lineup every night? Is P.O. Joseph good enough? All right, then we'll salary dump this defenseman Pettersson. How about Poulin? Right? I mean, what is he? He's a first-round pick in 19. Is he still not ready, Josh?
I don't think he was ever any good, to be honest with you.
Well, then, what are we doing here? I mean, this organization did a great job with Gensel and Rust and finding guys in middle rounds. You can't do that forever, but the well has dried up so much, and you're not going to find bargains in free agency. You overpay for guys in free agency. You got to make trades.
Which is why you've got to hang on to the core that you've put together. You don't have another option. Again, that's your best option right now going forward for the remainder of Sidney Crosby's contract. And if he really means he wants to play another 6 years, which I believe, when he tells you he wants to play another 6 years, the length of Letang's contract, I believe it. He's Brady-like in his desire to continue playing the game. If Sidney Crosby wants to play another 6 years, then you need to do your best to keep that core together and reinforce around it. It's just, when you spend a decade, as they did, trading first-round picks, trading young defensemen, you're
but they
reaping what
made
you sow.
first-round picks, Chris, and they got P.O. Joseph back for Kessel. Why aren't these guys any good?
He needs to be in the lineup this year.
He does.
Yeah.
And you ask Richie.
Kapanen. I mean, we got a guy that he cost them like 18 first-round draft picks, essentially.
And he might not be coming back. And Richie, you ask, can they win another cup? My answer is probably no, but I still think having Malkin gives them a better chance than anything else that's available.
All right, we're going to end the segment on that. We'll come back and we'll continue the Penguins talk and much more. I'm going to get into the new college football alignment, what's going to happen. But next up, we'll be talking about, did they make the right decision with Marc-Andre Fleury? Should they pursue him? I want to hear these guys' thoughts coming up next. Stay right there.
Number One Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by Number One Cochran. Go one better.